4 of the We Talk series. The We Talk brings to you the most prominent voices of the HR leaders who are donning the change makers hat at their respective organizations as they share their precious experiences and insights on and around the HR ecosystem. So joining us today is Ms. Radhika Gupta, Head HR, Becton Dickinson Technology. A quick introduction about her before we start our discussion today. So Radhika comes with around 17 years of rich experience in business partnering, talent development, talent management, and building organization culture. Her experience spreads across IT, financial services, as well as healthcare industry. In her HR leadership role, she has successfully partnered with diverse global stakeholders and is quite passionate about ramping up organization and strengthening the culture at the same time. With that, a very warm welcome, Radhika. Looking forward to having a really interactive discussion with you today.
Thank you, Baisakhi. Same here. Look forward to an interactive discussion.
Sure, Radhika. So to start off with today's discussion and to more or less set in the context for our discussion today, my first question for you would be, as we know that there's an ongoing talent war, right? It's nothing new. It's going on for quite some time. But if I focus on your specific industry, according to you and your industry demands, what type of skills shortage do you think is causing this talent war?
Sure. I think you covered a major part of the answer in the question itself, Baisakhi. This is nothing new. This war for talent, I think one of the biggest challenges for organizations over the last many years has been to get the right talent into the right role. And for that, there has been always competition. There has been an endeavor to get nothing but the best from the industry. So the war for talent has always been there and will continue to be there in future as well. Pertaining to my specific industry, I'd say this is also common across industries where there is a constant change in the technology. There's a constant change technology is changing very, very fast. And as a result of that, we always see that we need people who are the pioneers in technology, especially and in software. So, the way softwares are being developed today across, the apps are being developed today across, everybody's looking at software developers, they're looking at mobile app developers, the whole gamut of it, front end, back end, full stack. All these, I would say, resources are currently high in demand, and therefore it is creating that war for talent because the demand is too much and the supply continues to be limited. That, and then I'd say also in the IT architecture kind of a setup, we would see let's say platform solutionists, people who can provide the entire architecture, IT architecture for organizations, especially in niche areas like SAP, S/4HANA, MuleSoft, Hybris. I would say these are all niche skills, and anyway the supply of these skills is limited. So and the demand continues to be there. So these are some areas I feel there will, even in the next few years, continue to be that war for talent, so to say.
Thank you for setting in the context and painting a very realistic picture pertaining to your industry. And as you mentioned, going forward, how you envision it to be gradually panning out. Radhika, when we talk about organizations, the first thing that comes to our mind, especially in today's time, is employee engagement, right? And keeping in mind how things have rapidly changed for the past few years, I'm kind of curious to know that, when it comes to your employee engagement strategies, especially when we talk about remote as well as hybrid work setup. So what is your take on that? How do you see that?
Yeah, I think as a result of COVID, the expectations have changed both at the employer end as well as at the employee end. If we say, things go back to the pre-COVID times, that's not how it's going to happen. Therefore, the organizations need to be more agile in terms of building their hybrid model. For us personally at BD, I would say we are following the hybrid model where associates are expected to be in office for 3 days and they can work from home for the balance 2 days. We find it extremely, I would say, the optimum arrangement where associates not only when during their in-office days, they come to office, collaborate with their fellow colleagues. We have a very, very state-of-the-art facility here, Baisakhi, and they come and really constructively collide with each other. The kind of ideas one generates when one meets their colleagues in person is unmatched. I don't think it can be done as much over a Teams call or in virtual setups. So that's our take on hybrid. That's all. We are also kind of following this in line with our global guidelines around the flexible working model, so to say. And those 2 days, like 2 days of work from home, the associates can utilize to plan and schedule their meetings with the global stakeholders and really be flexible in terms of their times. Now, in order to kind of keep employees engaged in this hybrid setup, we make sure to provide differentiated benefits to our associates as well. So at BD here in the technology campus, we provide home pickup and home drop to associates. There are office cabs and they get that. We also provide breakfast and lunch at the office facility. We kind of try our best to continue to create an environment where they feel happy and charged about coming to office, including, I would say, flexible working hours. There's no fixed time for them to come into office or to leave office. They can decide and plan their coming in and leaving out time based on how their meetings with the global stakeholders are scheduled, and work accordingly to achieve that. So I think uh, clearly specifying what kind of a work arrangement are we providing, and two, creating a lot of additional benefits and facilities for our associates to enjoy, to kind of make sure that they are delivering their best to the organization.
I think you touched upon a very important point that employees being happy and most importantly looking forward to come to work. And mention not, I believe time and again we have been saying this, that no matter how hybrid remote we have gone, calling it the future of work, that particular touch of human element, meeting with people, I think that holds a very different depth altogether, which I believe no amount of virtual connect will be able to bring forward to the table. So moving on, Radhika, if I may ask that another very crucial point that organizations have started focusing on with a very serious agenda, that is the diversity and the inclusion part. So can you throw some light on how, as an organization, you are focusing on that?
Sure, and I think it's a concept that has been existing for years now, and it will continue to gain momentum till we reach an ideal state, probably a utopian state. But for us also at Becton Dickinson, I think diversity, we encourage diversity across different genders, ethnicity, etc. Practically for us closer home in India, for now our focus is to make sure that we have the right representation of our women associates into the workforce. So for us, a very important element of diversity is gender diversity, and we're kind of in our workspace dealing with it in three different aspects. The first one being getting more and more women associates into the workforce mix. And for that, we take a few conscious steps, including, when we go to engineering colleges across the country to hire our young talent, we also consciously make a choice to go to all women engineering colleges and get, more inflow of women associates into our engineering mix. That's one. When we are hiring, there is a clear mandate to our TA team to make sure that there is a fair representation of women candidates into our slate. So like this, we are kind of making sure we are also leveraging a few I would say women forums to kind of hire candidates from there. So that's our focus on making sure that we're consciously and deliberately bringing more and more women, and at least eventually reaching to a 30 to 35% women representation, at least in our workforce mix. Second aspect is development of these women associates. So when they join us, what are the opportunities we are providing to them to grow and build their career at BD, right from, networking opportunities with their local and global partners across to, we have this session called Chat with a Purpose session, where some of our, global leaders, women leaders, they talk about their journey with our associates here in India and truly end up inspiring them. We've recently, about to launch a mentorship program exclusively for our women associates that will enable them to kind of discuss about their development goals and accelerate their, development with help from some of our, again, global mentors from across. So that's on the development piece. And last but the most important, I would say, our focus has been on continuing to build an inclusive culture at BD. So it's not just about bringing women and, empowering them to do their job better. It is also about making sure that they feel welcome. Our leaders and managers are equipped to kind of get rid of any kind of unconscious biases and make sure that they are truly accepting of this diversity at workplace. So from time and now we have sessions for our people leaders on unconscious biases. For example, we have discussions with our leaders on how to continue to become a more engaging and welcoming organization for our diverse workforce. So I think in that space, I would say we've come a long way in the last 4 years of our existence as an entity. And of course, there is a long way to go as well. So we continue to focus on this and make sure that we have a local win team, at Bangalore in our organization that ensures to continue doing more and more to get more, to build an inclusive organization overall.
Lovely to know how, as an organization, you're actually walking the talk when it comes to diversity and inclusion. And as you mentioned that you have come a long way, and there is yet a lot to cover. And especially when we talked about that utopian state of mind. So I believe there are a lot to achieve for all organizations as we keep on talking and keep on progressing with the time. So Radhika, we have touched upon employee engagement, we have touched upon diversity and inclusion. So that kind of leads me to another very interesting point, which we can't simply miss nowadays. That is talking about the new generation of workforce. So what's your take on the new generation of workforce, and how do you see their expectations differ from that of the previous generation? I would love to know that.
Yeah, I mean, this is the talk of the town also, Gen Z and entering into the corporate world and the kind of disruption they're about to make in the corporate world. And organizations need to be agile to be able to, I would say, manage their expectations. But personally, for me, Besaki, what I believe is that every generation that comes in is different from the previous one. And I think that's also a kind of a natural outcome of human evolution. You can't expect two generations to be the same. And it's the same in the corporate world as well. So, when now the Gen Zs are coming in, for them, I think it's, they are much more, I would say, outspoken. They would not hesitate speaking up in the organization, which to me is a great sign, because typically organizations have really, I would say, focused on building a culture where associates can speak up and talk about what they're liking, what is not working, especially in the projects, etc., so that we can mitigate those challenges early on rather than having them linger on. So that's something that I see as a very, very welcome change in this generation. The second one, I would say, in my opinion, would be their savviness with technology. I think their easy adaptation to technology. The ways of working are going to continue to change with more and more technology coming into practice. And this generation seems to be comfortable with technology. They've grown up with, mobile phones and, the latest technology, latest softwares. I see that also as a very welcome change in terms of organizations finding it easier to adapt to that technology and leveraging a lot of this workforce to be the pioneers in implementing some of the technological transformations in the organization. Now, one thing I personally feel, the organizations will need to really focus on is also their expectations. How previous generations used to consider one organization as their family, and they would spend eons, working in that one organization, to, of course, then there coming more awareness around personal growth and, exploring other organizations as well, and working in multiple companies to grow your career. To now, I think this generation will be a mix of also kind of, looking at not having anything probably permanent, wanting to do jig assignments and wanting to kind of focus on, I would say, multiple careers as well. So how do organizations prepare themselves for this challenge is something that'll be interesting for, all of us to kind of embark on that journey.
I believe you actually pointed out quite some interesting points, and listening to you, what I feel ultimately it boils down to a point where the different generation comes together, as you mentioned at the beginning of this question, that how different generation comes together, and the mix and match pattern as to how they work together and overall contribute to an organizational growth. I think that's something organizations need to re-strategize and need to ponder upon. Radhika, this kind of brings me to my last question, and this is kind of a very interesting question that we have for all the leaders who join us for the series. So, more than 17 years in the talent acquisition space, I believe you have plethora of experiences to share with us. But if I boil it down to some of the most prominent challenges that you have encountered in the TA space in this journey, and most importantly, what were your strategies to overcome them? So if you can share something with us.
Oh, that's a code I don't think anybody's been able to crack, Besaki, including me. I think all organizations still continue to focus on making sure that they're reducing their time to get the right talent in the right time. There are challenges that every organization faces, including us. I would say, starting with the first one, how do we make sure that we get the right person into the right job? Now, by this, I not just mean, having a skill set match. I also mean, alignment of, values, individual values to organizational values. I also mean being passionate about the purpose of the organization that one is getting into. For example, I want to talk about BD as an organization. We are advancing the world of health. Our organization's central purpose is to make sure that, we are bringing positive outcomes to our end customer, which is the patient as well as the healthcare worker. Now, we would definitely want to focus on associates who are equally passionate about healthcare industry as much as we are in making that difference to the healthcare industry. So, getting that right mix where it's not just about, I would say, skill sets being matched and someone comes and does a 9-to-5 job and that's where it all ends. We want it to be the beginning of the journey for that associate, where he or she is passionate about truly making changes to the world of healthcare. I think that for us is constant endeavor, and the ways we kind of handle this is through our employee value propositions, various stages of the interview, giving clarity to the candidate, not just around what the job entails, but the larger purpose of the organization, and constantly talking about that purpose to the candidate. I think that for us will be a first challenge, and at the same time our strategy to mitigate that challenge. Now the other one I would say, which is kind of linked to this only, is also around candidates commitment, own commitment. This I would say last year would have seen some of the maximum number of offer drops across different organizations. Candidates, the job market was ripe and candidates were kind of exploring different opportunities. I don't say there's anything bad in that, Besaki. My only thing is that, one of the challenges is, what am I committed to? Am I committed to money? Am I committed to a good role? Am I committed to a good organization? I mean, if we do end up getting that clarity from, the candidates, I would say it would make everybody's job easier, including their own, and I would say that of the organizations. Then, one does not spend time on pursuing candidates who have their larger interest elsewhere. Similarly, candidates don't spend their time pursuing organizations that are not meeting their primary motive, whatever that could be. So, not showing up for interviews as a result of that, just exploring casually, all of these things, I think, and these are, I would say, challenges that we continue to deal with. And I am not sure what is the right solution for that yet, Paisaki. But then, through our, I would say, initial pitches and EVP, employee value proposition, to the candidates, we try to make it very clear that, we are here to look for passionate individuals. And if this is not something that's your cup of tea, this is not the industry that you're keen on, this is not the work arrangement, you would be keen on following, then I would say, you decide for yourself and make the best use of your own time and that of the, organization as well. So I think here are some broad challenges and how we kind of continue to deal with them. Like I said, this is a code no one's been able to crack, and it's a learning journey we continue to embark ourselves on.
I think it's very important, as you mentioned, that if the candidate is also very clear in his or her mind as to what they actually want to achieve, it kind of it's a very win-win situation for both the parties, both for the candidate as well as for the person who is actually investing time in hiring this candidate. So I believe a day comes very very soon when candidates also do get a chance to open up, and a very frank communication starts happening, starts evolving at the hiring space, so that it becomes a much more free flowing conversation when it comes to this hiring scenario. So with that, we'll kind of wrap up our conversation for the day. Thank you so much, Radhika, for sharing your fantastic knowledge with us. And I did not mention that I really loved conversing with you today and gaining some really insightful knowledge from you. So for our audiences, once again, thank you for joining us today. We will be back with yet another exciting conversation very soon. Till then, keep talking, everyone.